Michael Kurzweil. These two, actually, three names, Frankfurt, Oder, Slubice, actually formed together a question: Frankfurt, Oder, Slubice, Frankfurt or Slubice. What would be your answer to this question?
Well, this is a question which would say you have to choose or Frankfurt or Slubice. Does it mean to choose a state, or does it mean that only one city can exist? Historically, Slubice before Second World War had been a part of Frankfurt. It was the kind of how to say peripheric kind of part of the city, and then the movements, the Polish border had been moved from east to west, and suddenly the city was divided, and the river was taken like a kind of natural border, or not natural border. And then people met at this place. Well, they did not meet, because the border very quickly has been closed, the border of friendship, as it was called. And the people mainly coming from East Poland came here from the Polish side. The city of Frankfurt had been evacuated in the last days of the war because Hitler declared it as a fortification. And so we had a total exchangement of population on both sides of the river. And this, one can say that this is a very difficult situation if you still think in matters of being rooted in the ground, in the earth, like a farmer, for instance, or something like this. But it also can be a chance towards a new kind of identity. And in fact, to me, it is Frankfurt, and Słubice means Swoopford.
Mm-hmm. And this Schlupfurt is, as you spoke about the historic background, in a way the Schlupfurt is in a way restoring the pre-war time, in a way the situation back then, but in another way it is somehow like something third space which takes advantage of the so-called borderless European Union situation. So is it both the historic and the new situation, or is it like somehow anything else more, in a way like which is not dependent on the things that are going on at the moment?
If I would like to go back, then I would try to call the whole thing Frankfurt again. But this would be a kind of anachronistic way of thinking. Everything has changed, and it is a chance to have a city because the old historical infrastructure is still there, where you can see that it belongs together in a way. Both centers of the city are very near to each other. It's just the river which divides them. So this could be a chance, Swoopford, a kind of chance for the future, that this becomes a city in which Poles and Germans and others from everywhere of the world could live together in one common space, having mainly two main cultural roots, but also others who could add. Anyway, here are many different roots because the people have been moving here from other places of Poland, from eastern Poland, which from Lvov, for example, which now is in Ukraine. So you also can ask the question, where is the roots of the people? And therefore, I think taking Swoopford is a chance for creating future.
And is it the future regarding the borders, which in a way still exist, but in an invisible way? Is it the future about dismissing borders or living with borders or inside borders?
Well, on one hand, we all have borders. We have our skin as our border, let's say, from our inside body and outside. We yet have playing with inside and outside. We are sitting here in a room, creating an inside and an outside. So space and object in space is always creating borders in a way. We need, but it's the question how you call this boundaries, if they are kind of permeable, if you can pass them, or if they are stiff and hard. What kind of borders do we have? We all have different kinds of borders. We have stereotypes, lots of stereotypes, where our narrow-minded world is creating borders because we fear the other, the one we do not understand, let's say, instead of opening towards the other, thinking that that it makes us curious to understand the other. It's a kind of attitude. And Swoopford also is an expression of this kind of attitude of being open towards the unknown.
Yeah, so border does not mean something static and homogeneous. A border is more like a movement and a process.
Yes.
You mean this?
Yes.
Okay, okay. But what do you think still in the existing political system inside the European Union and Europe in a whole? Does the border, in a way, like the main border, which is like the basement of history of 20th century, the border between East and West, does it anyhow still exist, or is it like complete history now?
Well, this depends on the generation, I think. If I take the generation of my son, who was born in '89, which was the year of the political changements in a way, then he grew up with a totally different mentality than we have been growing up. And I think for him, I don't know if I would have to ask him if he sees any borders between East and West. There is, I told you yesterday, there is a kind of funny thing in Europe that everybody is looking to the West.
Yeah.
The Russians look to Poland or look to the West.
Yeah.
Polish people look to the West. Germans also look to the West.
Yeah.
There are only few people, also here in Eastern Germany, few people who really look to the East, who, for example, live here and are curious to discover the unknown, on the Polish unknown, let's say. Yeah? It is more stronger still the fear of the unknown, the fear of the culture we do not understand. I had this discussion 1 week ago in Pasewalk, where somebody told me it's a nice idea, all this, but we never will understand Polish people because they are so different.
Yeah. I am here like just some couple of days, like a stupid tourist, and I actually see that if I'm in Slubic and in Frankfurt Oder, they are different worlds for me. I see that the Polish side is really Polish in a way, which I actually acknowledge as Polish, and coming here it is very Germanic. In a way, this is like in cliches. I don't know how it would be if I would stay here longer, how it would work.
But that is how things are. There is one thing which may be visible, strongly visible for the moment, but there are changements going on because we live in a steady, ongoing process. You cannot just stuck it and say this is the world. It is, and there are movements which are starting up from just a few people living another reality, and then they are coming more and more, and suddenly there is coming a changement which nobody had been foreseeing before. So I think if I look back in 1999 when we created Swoopford, and now there have been so many things changing. The attitude of not cooperating has been changed into an attitude we want to do something together. We have this Polish-German cooperation center where Sören Bollmann is working, and people from Frankfurt and Słubice are together, are employed there. So they are working in a way together, and we have this bus since a few months just. We still are fighting for a tramway, but you see, these things take a while, and I think the future is it has to become together. There's no way, because also now it is still lots of Polish people who send their kids to school in Frankfurt, for example, or if you look more north near Szczecin, There are lots of Polish people buying houses because they are more cheap. They're cheaper on the German side than in Szczecin, and they just take 20 minutes to work to go to the center of Szczecin. So there are towns like Löcknitz, for example. When you go to the schools, in the kindergartens, they get more than 50% Polish kids. Because the young people from this area, the German people, they go away because of unemployment, and then they're coming Polish people giving work also, creating enterprises, and I'm sure that if we look a few generations further, we will have got a region here where people are living and working together. And we still do not know what globalization will bring us for people coming from other parts of the world. I think there are changements that are going on all the time. People fear just to lose what they have. They think that if we mix the languages or something, then we lose our cultural identity and so on. But we never lost our cultural identity. We have so many Latin words, Greek words, French words, English words inside of the German language, and these things are mixing and developing. Maybe in a few hundred years we will not speak anymore about Poles and Germans and so on. We do not know. And so you can see that it is just a kind of evolution, a kind of process, ongoing process, which of course we can form like a sculpture.
Thank you very much, Michael.